watching the press conference today, and watching the police chief or the police supervisor or whatever the hell he's called, the ranking guy there in the Chicago Police Department, talking about the situation, saying that, the 47th hour, they admitted everything just before they had to release them. It was within an hour that they held out, it looks to me, because one of the other points that he said was that, first of all, he didn't recommend jail time. He thinks that, paying a fine and apologizing is enough, and I'm going to talk about that. But he also said some other things that were interesting, and I'll just go ahead and talk about what his recommendation was for punishment. I mean, I think it's completely ridiculous. I mean, now if he doesn't get jail time, people, it's going to encourage other people to do this. Where it's like, oh, you mean you just have to pay a fine? Or, like, he can't get away with just getting a slap on the wrist here. You're going to encourage other fake attacks like this, and I think that might be the strategy there for the Chicago Police Department. I don't trust them at all. They are super, super corrupt. You can see also with the fact that they are trying to pivot here and throw this story out there that he did it for financial gain. He was making like $65,000 an episode already, for a show Empire. And I think it's pretty clear, like, if you stage a hate crime against a certain group of people and a targeted group of people, conservatives, Christian, Trump supporters, pro-gun people, like that particular group of people, you're not trying to just do it for the money. I mean, maybe there was a small element of that, like an added bonus, a little goodie, a cherry on the top. But the main reason why you staged this entire thing specifically was because you wanted to increase racial tensions. You wanted to be a victim. And you notice how the news pushed the entire thing. They don't talk about, all the times when the left were going after pro-Trump people, where the Trump protesters were coming in and beating the crap out of them, hitting them with bike locks, beating women over the head with stuff, pepper spraying women in the face. I mean, spitting on them, just whether it's Antifa or Black Lives Matter or any of these other groups that would just go in there, and the Chicago police chief goes and says, we don't have any room for hate in Chicago. It's like, well, wait a second, wasn't it in Chicago there at a Trump rally when you had everything got out of control with the anti-Trump protesters and the assaults that were going on, and how you just let them go totally in the building and start screaming and interrupt the Trump rally there? It was like 2.5 years ago or something. It was in 2016, right before Trump was elected, a few months before. So, yeah, you don't have a place for hate in Chicago for certain groups. For other groups, it's acceptable. And because you allowed that to happen, probably emboldened a guy like Juicy Smallhead, whatever the hell his name is, Juicy Smallhead. So, that's the thing. You send a message to people that, intolerance towards Trump supporters and MAGA people is acceptable. Well, what the hell do you think is going to happen? So you see the multi-levels of propaganda here. It's like the deception is multi-level in what this police chief is saying, or this police official from Chicago Police Department is saying. He says, They have no room for hate in the city, which they do for certain groups. It's okay. They're spinning it and saying that Smollett did it for financial reasons, when we know that the main reason was his disdain for Trump supporters. The fact that he's now saying that he shouldn't get prison time, like he's saying that, and he very abruptly ended the press conference right after that. Like, first of all, the media wasn't even going to ask him about, what he thought, what justice meant to this official. Asking his opinion on what he thought he should get as a punishment. They weren't even going to ask that. It was until the very last question, which was the question after the police chief said this was the last one, or meaning it was an extra question that wasn't supposed to be asked. Like, he had ended the press conference and someone else yelled out, and he actually addressed it, but it wasn't even going to be asked by the media originally. And he said, "What do you think? The punishment should be?" And he said, "Pay a fine and apologize." And then he very abruptly ends the conversation, the press conference there. So look, this is not good. I didn't like it, and I think that people should call it out and say that this is crap, because we can't just sit there and take it if the guy gets off with a slap of the wrist. I mean, and then the media doesn't even cover. I mean, between the Covington kids and now this dude, where they're staging and faking stuff with the help of the media and with the help of presidential candidates like Kamala Harris, they're being helped along staging this. Not to mention the fact that Kamala Harris said that they had this law that they were trying to pass, this anti-lynching law to make lynching illegal, as if it wasn't already illegal. But what a great way, that Smollett's friends with Obama and friends with Kamala Harris and friends with these people, admittedly. So what a better way for you guys to get that law passed than to have a hate crime perpetrated with a noose. So there's also the added data point that this actually goes up further than just Juicy Smallhead. That it could be actually a Democratic Party false flag, and Smollett was not smart enough to do things a certain way in order to get away with it. So he's got to fall on his own sword and be the fall guy to protect the higher up Democrats that helped stage it. Now that is a very strong possibility. And look, I think the Chicago PD is playing shenanigans here, and we should not accept it. We can't accept hate. I agree with that. And Juicy Smollett, the Chicago PD, and the Democratic Party clearly hate Donald Trump and his supporters, and engage in fake hate crimes against them.